Stop lying, because you always love to see my face. Just stop lying. Stop lying, big boy. Stop lying. That's number one. Number two, you are absolutely right. There's nothing that's going to change my mind. To me, Michael Jordan is the greatest of all time, but him and LeBron James sitting at the same table. LeBron James is on the Mount Rushmore of basketball, one of the top 4 players in the history of basketball. There is no question about that. And listen, God forbid I don't say that LeBron is number 1. I mean, what's the greatest insult in the planet? Because some of the folks in his camp, that's how they treat it. Him number 2 instead of number 1. What blasphemy are you spewing? But I think there's something to be said about the road that you traveled to get there. I think that the things that LeBron had to endure before he ultimately got to that point psychologically, mentally, emotionally, I think there's something to be said for that. I'm thinking about the scoring championships of Michael Jordan, the NBA championships of Michael Jordan, the killer instinct that was Michael Jordan. All of those things come into consideration for me. And so when I look at LeBron, it's no disrespect whatsoever. I think he's the greatest in the game today. I think he's the greatest in the history of basketball outside of Michael Jordan. But if I had to take LeBron at his best, and I don't hold up all those championship losses against him, even though he lost 6. I don't blame him for losing to the Spurs in 2007. I don't blame him for losing for the Spurs in 2014. I don't blame him for losing to KD and Golden State. I understand what he was working against, but in the end, all I'm saying is when I take LeBron at his best and I take Michael Jordan at his best, I would want Michael Jordan every day and twice on Sunday. Over LeBron James. And that is the only person that I would want over LeBron James in the history of basketball. I don't find that to be insulting.
Any obstacle you put in front of Michael Jordan, he crushed it. He didn't just face challenges, he knocked them out. Jordan had that edge where nothing distracted him, not even the flashiest stuff around. When people talk about NBA greatness, the focus is usually on stats, rings, or awards. But as Stephen A. Smith points out, with Jordan, it's more than numbers. It's about his mentality, the fear he put in opponents, the respect he earned, and his unstoppable competitive fire. This breakdown dives into Stephen A.'s most passionate takes on what made Jordan different, his mindset, his drive to win, and the dominance that kept him above everyone else. Stephen A. starts by making it clear, back in Michael Jordan's era, there was no debate about who the best player was. Ask anyone who played then, and they'll tell you the same thing. It wasn't even close. Jordan wasn't just more talented. He was more complete, more prepared, and more dominant in every situation. He could do it all: score, defend, lead, and deliver in the clutch. Stephen A.'s point is that the gap between Jordan and everyone else was so massive, it almost felt unfair to call it competition. Players went into games already knowing they were up against someone on a completely different level, and that alone had a psychological effect before the tip-off. Jordan's dominance was so clear that it ended any what-if debates during his time, and remember, this was before social media. His reputation wasn't built on hype. It came straight from what he did on the court and from the players who had to face him. Stephen A. makes it clear, Jordan's spot at the top of his era wasn't up for debate. It was accepted fact, especially by his opponents. The reason there was no debate is simple: anyone who played in that era will tell you there couldn't possibly be another choice. Michael Jordan was head and shoulders above everyone else. Stephen A. then shifts to Jordan's ability to face challenges. No matter what obstacle stood in front of him, Jordan didn't just beat it, he crushed it. And Stephen A. stresses this wasn't only about physical talent. It was about resilience, adaptability, and an unshakable will to win. All through his career, Jordan faced huge challenges: the powerhouse teams in the East during the late 80s, the brutal bad boy Pistons defense, and later the pressure of keeping a dynasty alive in the 90s. Each time, he adjusted, sharpened his game, and came back even stronger. When Stephen A. talks about Jordan knocking out obstacles, he means it was final. Once Jordan figured out a challenge, it was done. He never let it beat him again. Jordan's relentless approach made it almost impossible for opponents to find a way to beat him for long. A big part of that was his preparation. He studied opponents endlessly, searching for weaknesses, and once he found them, he attacked without mercy. This wasn't just about winning, it was about dominating and leaving no doubt. Stephen A. highlights that Jordan's greatness wasn't dependent on perfect situations or lucky breaks. It was constant. No matter what obstacle you put in front of him, he overcame it, and once he did, it stayed done. Stephen A. even adds that countless players have told him personally the same thing. Facing Jordan meant facing someone who always found a way to knock you out. You didn't just respect Michael Jordan, you feared him. Respect was for other great players, but fear was reserved for him alone. That difference matters. Respect means you admire someone's skills and achievements. Fear means you're already shaken before the game even starts. It changes how you prepare, how confident you feel, and the choices you make on the court. Jordan earned that fear with years of clutch performances, game-winning shots, and an iron refusal to lose. Every time he stepped on the floor, opponents knew he had the skill, the mindset, and the drive to take over whenever he wanted. Stephen A. points out that this wasn't just about physical dominance, it was psychological warfare. Jordan's reputation hit opponents before the first whistle, and that reputation came from years of delivering when everyone else cracked. Jordan's fear factor made opponents hesitate, and that tiny hesitation was all he needed to gain the upper hand. It's a rare quality in sports, and Stephen A. emphasizes that this is what made Jordan not just great, but virtually untouchable. Stephen A. recalls hearing it countless times. You feared Jordan. You respected all these other guys. That fear wasn't created by trash talk, it came from what Jordan actually did. He could tell you before a game that he was going to drop 50 points on you, and then he would go out and do exactly that. That kind of confidence, backed up by action, created a unique fear among opponents. It's one thing to know a player is great, it's another to watch them call their shot and then do exactly what they said they would. This showed Jordan's supreme self-belief and his ability to rise under any pressure. It also reflected his precise preparation. If he told you he was going to dominate, it wasn't empty words. He had studied your tendencies, weaknesses, and defensive schemes so thoroughly that he knew you couldn't stop him. Stephen A. points out that this mix of talking and delivering amplified the fear factor tenfold. Other top players might have big scoring nights, but Jordan did it with purpose, almost like writing a script before the game and performing it in real time. That's what set him apart even from the elite, because his greatness was never random or streaky. Jordan's dominance was deliberate, calculated, and inevitable. He instilled fear because he was the kind of player who could tell you, I'm going to drop 50 on you tonight, and then actually do it. After showing his offensive power, Stephen A. shifts to another key part of Jordan's greatness, his defense. Once Jordan embarrassed you on offense, he could turn around and shut you down defensively as well. That's rare for superstars, especially scorers. Many elite players conserve energy on defense, but Jordan took pride in being complete, dominating on both ends. Stephen A. emphasizes that Jordan didn't just beat you by scoring points, he also made sure you couldn't score. That two-way dominance made him a nightmare to face. He was quick enough to guard perimeter players, strong enough for physical matchups, and smart enough to anticipate plays before they happened.